I would validate my feelings. My parents never validated my feelings, you know. So like I was like I was scared of leaving the house. I was In this video, this is a clip of an interview I did with an autism therapist company, but it's specifically me talking about communication, parenting, relationships, and some things that I wish my parents would have done when I was a kid. I hope you enjoy all of this. Check it out right now. Enjoy. When I first started putting content out, I wanted to put content out to help people, to help other people, because I was hitting roadblocks trying to find content that was relative to me, right? And so there was nothing. So before I was on the scene doing YouTube videos and Facebook videos and Instagram videos on autism, there was nobody doing it. It's kind of cool. Like I was like the first person. So like, but what happened from that is that the benefit is the benefit of spreading awareness is helping raise the tone level of people's understanding from being something which is quite a negative understanding to a positive understanding, more of a detailed understanding, because you're able to talk from your experience and life experience as a person living that day in, day out, and then they get to see it, and then they get to relate to it as well. So not just the parents who go, oh, you know, my kid is just like this. That's a really good, cool point or tip. But the people who are watching it are like, hey, this guy's just like me. I'm going to send a message since I was a cool guy. And then I get a message from this really, you know, awesome person. And I'm like, hey, you're awesome too. And so for me, the benefit is I've been able to expand my, you know, group of people that I can communicate with and really kind of build rapport with, that have the same issues that I do. And so I went from being like quite a secluded person, you know, socially, to having this large community of people that I can kind of correspond with and communicate with on a daily basis. And this leads on to another thing, is that what my content changed to create a benefit for people, where I realized that, you know, if you're an autistic person, typically you're going to be quite isolated. You know, you're going to be a person who plays computer games. You're going to be in your home all the time. You're not going to have a huge social life. You know, I've only ever been to a nightclub once in my life. Like, you know what I mean? And I was there for about half an hour and I left. It was horrible. But like those, you know, how are autistic people supposed to find, like, you know, and have these social things? So I wanted to create a community where we could build that social interaction and bring other people to have that same experience I had, where it's opened up my world. You know what I mean? And so by inviting people into my community, it opens their world as well, which is just like, that's mind blowing. You know, like I would validate my feelings. My parents never validated my feelings, you know. So like I was scared of leaving the house. I remember a specific instance where my babysitter, my mum and dad worked, and so I was with a babysitter in her house. Carolyn, her name was. She's a lovely woman. I still see her now around town and stuff, and I still get that kind of like warm, kind of like, oh, Carolyn, you know, can I come and have dinner in your house? But like, and then but she used to look after me, and she had a young daughter as well, who's similar age. So we used to play together. Well, I say play together. I used to stare at Lego, and her daughter used to like throw things at me. But, you know, and then I remember one time she was like, oh, you know, do you want to go to the shop and get some sweets? And she gave her daughter money to buy sweets. And I just couldn't, I'd never been outside on my own, you know, so I was like, you know, like freaking out, like proper freaking out. And then her mum was like, no, it's okay. Don't worry, Dan, you can stay here. It's fine. And so that instance, I'd love to go after myself and be like, you know, that's absolutely fine to feel like that, you know, like, and like, let's talk about it. What does it feel like? You know, validate that. I you know, identify what it is, validate it, and then say, you know, that's cool, man. You know, we're all different. You know, it takes all kinds of people, you know, just like saying, you know, you wouldn't, you know, someone in a wheelchair was faced with steps. You wouldn't be like, oh, well, you can't go up the steps. You know what I mean? You'd be like, okay, well, you're a wheelchair user. Let's find a different way around it. You know, like it validates it. You wouldn't just kind of brush over it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's so bizarre. So that's what I would do. And I think the coping skills will come from like when you validate something, when you really take on board, well, that's what it is. Then you'll be able to say, okay, well, what can I do to, you know what I mean? If you don't validate anything, you never really stop and looking at it. So how on earth are you going to find something to compensate it or to overcome it? You know, you just kind of like, oh, we'll deal with it again when, you know, cross that bridge when you come to it, kind of thing, rather than actually dealing with the situation at hand. Guys, if you want in on my exclusive membership program, which has monthly, you know, group mentoring with me on Zoom, and also there is a specific forum in there and a group chat. There's also monthly courses that are getting dropped and monthly how-to guides specifically for you to increase your potential and increase your conditions of life with autism and autism spectrum conditions. Then please make sure to click the pre-register button below. I only have 200 spaces available. Make sure that you do that right now and don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity. It's $27 a month, which is about £20 a month. I only have 200 spaces available. Please click the pre-register button down below right now. The link that says pre-register, because that will save you a spot on this membership program. I'm very excited to launch this on August the 1st. Please be a part of this team. It's going to be amazing. Okay, on with the rest of
For people who are parents of younger kids, it's to really get down to their level. A lot of parents don't pair with their kid. You know, they feel strange because their kid is operating on this level, doing that thing, and their parents are up here. So parents are always trying to get to the kid to come to their level because they feel like their level is normal, right? Mm-hmm. So what I'd say a lot of parents should do is like, you know, if your kid's, you know, lining up cars on the carpet, then get down there and start lining up cars, man. You know what I mean? It's like that, building rapport like that is called pairing. When you start pairing with somebody, you gain that person's trust. So just like, for example, I did a consultation with a doctor, and she is a therapist, an autism therapist, and she works with autism, you know, clients, and she normally kind of goes around and has like face-to-face meetings with them. But then COVID hit, and she was doing all these meetings via Zoom, right? And all of the meetings were on Zoom, and the kids were just not having a good time. You know, they wouldn't talk to her, they wouldn't do much. They were just like, you know, oh, yeah, this is weird. So I said to her, okay, I'm guaranteed those kids play Minecraft. She said, yeah. So I said, download Minecraft, get on their server, put your headset on, play with them, and talk to them. Well, she said it's the best thing that ever happened. She said that she had the most engagement with them ever by playing Minecraft with them because they were able to talk to her. Because what happens is they were busy. Their need for occupation of something to do, you know what I mean, of their focus was taken care of. So that the analytical part of their brain, which was subject to objective conversation, it was free and able to interact because they weren't being taken away from the part of their brain which needed to wonder, right? And it was already wondering, but it was focused wondering. Yes. So it was really interesting. So that kind of changed the whole life. The basis of everything is a force of communication. Yeah. So autism impacts the ability for one to communicate in certain aspects of social environments and constructs, which is kind of like, is this person like, so say for instance, I'm on the spectrum, my girlfriend isn't on the spectrum. I could have said something because I have no filter when I say things, you know, I might talk about BDSM, or I might talk about kind of like, you know, crazy stuff that'll just create, you know, just crazy stuff that comes out, and that somebody will find it kind of quite off the wall maybe. And then they may take offense to that. So if my girlfriend takes offense to something that I'm not aware of because I didn't realize there was, you know, because there's no filter there, how do I know that she's upset? Well, typically somebody would know by facial expressions, behavior of body language, and other types of tone and tonality and mood within the communicative patterns of that person. But with autism, that's not there, unless it's a direct indication. I'm feeling sad. This upset me. Sort it out, love. You know, it's not going to happen. So what we do is we've had many a time, you know, how do we have a successful relationship? Well, everything that should be worth having has to be hard work. You know what I mean? If it's worth having, it should be hard work, because you know what I mean? When you climb up mountains to get to the top, no one says, "God, that was easy." You know what I mean? And when the gold medalist Olympians they finish whatever they're doing, they never go walk in the park. They're just like, they're knackered. And it's good because it shows that the effort was put in there, and that's what you get out. So in order to do that, one of the things, a lot of people walk away from relationships when they become hard, especially when communication barriers present themselves as such. And so the one thing I would say is that, okay, perseverance through difficult times will come to succession, but then also learning from it. So we set up a communication pattern where I said, look, if there's something wrong, don't just assume I'm going to know, because I'm never going to know. You know what I mean? Just like I have to write a birthday in my calendar, you know, and things like, and I have a cheat sheet of things like flowers, chocolates, balloons, whatever. Those things will help someone, you know, and so that's like a cheat sheet, you know. It might come natural to other people, but you know, it's not that easy to remember those things because, again, my focus, my wandering mind is focusing on other things that are completely bizarre, you know, like you know, we could have, and so with that, she tells me when things are issues, and also she'll tell me when I may be wondering. So like, you know, we'll be having a conversation about something. Like she'll tell me like, hey, so today I found these shoes I was thinking about buying for our son, and you know, they're in sale and blah blah blah. And I'm like, Naomi, did you ever realize that the time-dependent Schrodinger equation really reminds me of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. She's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But when I was talking about it now, we're talking about shoots. This actually happened the other day. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So it's kind of her not being like, are you listening to me? It's her being like, hey, Dan, I'll tell you what, that's a really interesting concept. We'll talk about it in a minute. Can we just talk about this at hand and bring it back? You know, kind of like, you know, it's a wandering mind all the time. So it's knowing that if you have if you're dealing with somebody on the spectrum, it's knowing the parts that are autism based and what are personality based, because everyone can be a bit of an idiot, right? I've done stupid things that had nothing to do with my condition, you know, and I've got grumpy at things, you know, and we argue about things, but it's not all the condition. But there are certain things like communication is one of the biggest ones, you know, and things like that, and I feel like autistic people don't intentionally try to forget things. You know what I mean?